Nope. He's collecting.
Okay, good evening. Welcome to the January 29th, 2014 Tilton Budget Committee. The first thing on the agenda for tonight is the minutes for January 22nd. And as soon as everybody's ready, we can take a motion to accept that.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the meeting minutes of the January 22nd, 2014 Budget Committee meeting minutes.
We have a motion to accept the minutes and a second. Any discussion, or does anybody need a little bit more time? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. While we're at minutes, why don't we take a motion to update the minutes of January 8th, was the one? January 8th. On the last page, second paragraph up from the bottom, it says question was called, motion voted. Gentleman Scanlon abstained. Ms. Dawson declined to vote. 1 yes. Meeting no. Motion fails. We have a motion to change that to 3.
Motion passes.
Motion passes.
Motion
passes.
Motion passes.
I make a motion to accept those minutes as amended,
We want to change the
How are they
quantity of
amended?
the vote.
because it was wrong, it
What was wrong?
It said motion
failed.
Oh, what have I got, new minutes?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is a new copy. Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Okay.
I'm going, what was wrong with that?
We have a new copy.
Okay.
I don't have the old then, okay. So it used to
to
say
just-
motion failed,
Yes.
and now this is the corrected copy that
Of
said
motion
motion
passed,
passes.
yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So we'll
Got
do
it.
a motion
So
to
moved.
accept the amended copy.
So moved.
In a second?
I'll second.
And a second from Eric. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Yep, there you go.
File this one. Okay, the next thing we have on the agenda is Park Commission. Bob Hardy. Hey, Bob. You're right to you. Come on down. Oh, Peter's here too, so.
Was that in the packet? Was that in this tonight's packet?
I got it from Joyce, but I'm
You almost escaped. This is the last night for hearing stuff. Oh, yeah. Great, thanks. What about that?
No,
Okay.
I don't even have a copy.
So,
Just a second.
there were some questions that some of the members had on the budget for the Parks Commission. So we asked you to come on down and we can address a few things. Maybe you can start by going over some of your budget.
Does everybody have a copy of their budget?
Just pulling it up now.
I have that many copies. Well, look at you, you already got them.
No.
Mind
It's a
you.
line item.
No, thank you. I did one.
Island.
I got too many papers here.
Heather, could you make me one?
I will.
Thanks, Region.
Thank you for your patience, sir.
Bob, on a side note, I'm the one who calls you from time to time from the Snowmobile Club. John Bossy?
Yes. Nice, put a face with
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Yeah, from Belknap Snowmobilers.
Yep. Season started off great, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I got a little reprieve on Saturday.
Did you?
Well, you just start talking snow Saturday night.
Snow or rain. It's gonna be right around that magic line.
No, we just never pursued it. Yeah, we haven't even gone and cut that one that you said we could, so. We'll get out there at some point when it's, now's probably a good time to do it. You can walk out there and,
See, Eric, you have to get to the point when you get retired, you can look out the window and say, not today.
Clubhouse today. We're planning a sale around that and everything. They were working on the groomer.
yeah.
Can't be grooming much. And he says, oh yeah, the high elevations
Yeah.
are great. He says,
Yeah.
around here it's nothing but ice.
Welcome.
High elevations are fabulous.
Yeah, gotta go up and up and up.
Yeah.
How's the quality of the snow?
It's hard.
Snow depends, I guess the high elevations are good. The low elevations, it's glare ice.
I was just gonna say, it's crystallizing pretty quickly.
Sugar snow.
Yeah. I'm used to Colorado snow.
Does the state forest manage Belknap Mountain?
Yes.
So if we had issues with that, we'd working with you as well?
Yep.
There was another person that was referred to me. Can't remember his name.
Al Graham?
The line.
No, another person in Dread.
Bob Sparrell?
Yeah, him.
Okay, he's our land agent out of Concord. I'm the field forester. I'd go out and meet with you on site.
Yep.
Give my recommendations to the regional forester, Dan, who you've talked with.
Yep.
He would then send it into Concord. Bob would type up the permits and
Gotcha.
so forth and send them out to you. So
Gotcha.
he handles the paperwork aspect pretty much. And
So our agreements, our 3-year agreements and stuff?
yeah,
I gotcha.
yeah.
Okay, everybody's got a copy. Maybe you can go over it. Some things have changed, any difficulties or changes that you're making, the way things operate.
Pretty much the same as last year. We did change a few things, increased a little bit, decreased in some areas. You can see what was approved in 2013 and what we're proposing here. The electric has gone up. That may be a little bit high because we did retrofit the lights down there at Riverfront, and it does seem to be cutting our cost down and everything, but we had actually overspent the budget last year. We spent $2260 on electricity at Riverfront last year, so that's why we put it in at 23 this year. That may, as I said, with the new lights, we've only got a little over a month, and we've got some issues with them that the contractor has to clear up in the spring. They keep tripping the breaker, but he knows what it is and everything. So, but it does seem to be cutting the electric bill there. Sewer water stays the same. Cleaning, we got a better deal on the cleaning. Got a better contractor in than what we started the year off, so that came down. Irrigation, electricity, that's the electric for the water pump, or for the pump to run the irrigation. That's separate from the lights. It's on a separate meter, separate fee, so we just listed it separate there and put it as irrigation and electricity. Security repairs, we put in for 2,000. We went in this year and had to upgrade a lot of the cameras, move the cameras. It seems like with any security system, you're always doing repairs to it, so miscellaneous supplies is just that, miscellaneous supplies. Landscaping did increase from 2013. We're actually, we spent $5,000 this year on the 4,900 on landscaping. So we're figuring that with increased gas and everything that we're looking at probably close to 6,000 for that. We have that out to bid. The bids are closing in 2 weeks, correct?
We haven't set a date. We're going to discuss it at our next meeting, but a fellow came in today to bid on it, and I told him probably about the middle of February we'd be closing that.
Now, did you bid on that last year?
No.
No, that was a 2-year contract last year. That was the second year, and to be honest, the contractor that had that contract did not bid this year, and we would not go with that contractor again. We had too many issues with him and everything. Quality of the mowing wasn't there. The lawns kept getting scalped. He was supposed to be weeding the flower beds, and the flower beds weren't getting weeded on a monthly basis. In fact, we cut several of his bills back because of inefficiencies there, so.
Now, did he do Riverfront, Buffalo, Sybil, did he do all of them?
He did all except for the 132 ball field.
Okay.
The 132 ball field, we handled in-house with park commissioners, namely Peter, and Catherine helped him.
A little tiny bit. It was mainly
Little
Peter.
tiny bit, but most of it was Peter. Getting out there, and with the new mower that we purchased, that was this year that we purchased that, wasn't it?
2013.
2013.
Yeah.
But I have my Raptor certificate, since I
Yes,
don't have
you
my
do.
X-Mark one.
Where is that stored? Because a lot of times I just saw it sitting out in the open. Was that,
No, you didn't.
a couple of times I did, Peter.
No, you saw the Winnisquam Cal Ripken tractor that was set outside
Okay.
to allow our tractor to fit in the garage. Ours was yellow,
Okay.
whole different model. That was a lawn and garden tractor that was, I think, orange or red and white.
That was on loan to us prior to us
The one
buying.
right next to the water cannon behind the two buildings, that was the Cal Ripken.
And that has been,
Tim finally moved it
they took it
about
back,
the start
so
of football.
once- Where was I?
Buffalo.
Buffalo, miscellaneous supplies, landscaping. Again, we went up a little bit on landscaping, figuring that the bids were going to be higher this year for the landscaping than what they were 2 years ago. Same way with Civil War. 132 miscellaneous supplies. Electricity, all the electric is installed. We shouldn't have any fees there, so that one was dropped this year. Landscaping, we kept level funded because we're doing it in-house, so there should be no increase there. Security repairs, we dropped from 132.
That may be down on next page.
Yeah, that's down. Security in all parks, down there. We'll cover that when we get down to that. Electricity, we had budgeted 400 last year. We didn't spend that this year, so we went with what we spent, the 300. Porta potties are up. The charge for those increased from, again, that was a 2-year contract. We're up to 15 for the porta potties. Vest pocket, we handled Vest pocket with a separate contractor because the cost was so high in 2013. and we came in with about a $400 savings, so we kept it at $800. Arborist work is $2,000. That's for trees in any of the parks. That's going out to bid. I'm meeting with a contractor on Friday to show them what we're looking for, though. Then we should have those in by the end of February. Commission cost is $200 for postage. Programs, we ran a lot of programs this past summer. We put in $1,200 so we can continue with the programs. Advertising, $400. The advertising covers not only for the events, but also for our contracts when we have to go out for bids on the contracts. Miscellaneous dues. Photo costs, we're really handling photos with digital and printing them ourselves rather than the old-fashioned way with taking negatives in and getting negatives printed. So we dropped the $150 for the photo cost. Stipend stayed the same. Security in all parks. We just felt that we needed to cover all the parks and not only do 132 ball field, but we were talking about Vest Pocket, that we should start thinking about possibly some security there as well as some of the other parks. So we put a line item in for $2,000 there. Maintenance, that's our summer employee that works in the parks, picking up trash, doing minor maintenance work around. Like this year, we hope to, you can explain the popcorn.
Fix the concrete.
Oh, looking at you thinking popcorn.
I know what he meant.
If you walk into the park using any of the concrete stairs, you'll see holes in it. That's referred to as popcorn. So there's a process of, there's a product you use and tools and wet it down, mix the product up, put it in, trowel it in, etc., etc. Over a couple of years it'll blend in, but the first year it'll look like a patch. The other problems we have is the ants have undermined a lot of the bricks. So when you walk around the pavilion, you'll come to areas that have just collapsed. So he'll have to take those bricks out, replace the sand, put them back in. There are culvert drains at the head of the stairs. Those also have run foul of the ants. And those will also have to be picked up and leveled and filled in. There's a lot of trip hazards like that around the pavilion area. There's an erosion problem over in the far western end of the park where the concrete, brick, and stone dust meet. And he's been trying to address that. In the spring, we'll often find most of the stone dust at the bottom of the path, so he has to bring that back up, and it's almost a yearly thing. We're going to have to be creative in how we're going to prevent that from happening every year, because sometimes it's quite a river and creates quite a trip hazard. There are box culverts down in the lower end of the park in the gravel path that goes along the wall. Those are also falling prey to erosion, will have to be lifted out, re-leveled. There are bricks on either side of them. Those will have to be leveled. He also replaces
Those
the
are all done by the
maintenance man.
Yeah.
He will also have to, he replaces the bark mulch. The kids swing and they dig the great holes. I think they do it on purpose, I swear. So he replaces that yearly. He polices all the picnic areas down there.
He actually breaks the bark mulch out weekly.
Yep, and he cleans those areas of leaves and debris. We often have grass growing up on between the bricks, under the picnic tables. He is licensed by the state to use herbicides and fertilizers, so he can go in there and use an herbicide, kill that, clean it up. Keeps the barbecue grates clean. Just a ton of stuff. There's a huge amount of brush that's got to get under control in the far western end of the park that past landscapers, I don't know, we've told him over and over again, but chose not to tackle. He's dealing with that. We have Bittersweet just curling its way up through the last pavilion. It just seems to be an invasion of pods.
Make wreaths and use that as a fundraiser.
Pardon? Yeah.
Make wreaths and use that as a fundraiser.
So these are the types of things he does, and that's besides keeping, the pavilion looking good. He's often washing off graffiti, keeping the side of the building clean.
You painted the railings. Has that paint held up?
So far, yes.
Yes. I'm hopeful that we got it corrected this time, because they stripped the railings and came in with a galvanized primer, which it's my feeling was never done when we installed the railings the first time, and that's why it kept peeling, and by stripping them back, and that cost was in the 2013 budget, but does not appear in this one. You can see that we had $5,000 in there for stripping and painting the railings.
Mr. Chairman, I have 3 questions. The first question I have is fireworks and Christmas parade went from 1,000 to 2,500.
Correct.
Okay, and the reason is?
The fireworks actually were $1,500 this year. We had to scrounge the other $500. We had under budgeted for them. We had put nothing in for advertising or mailing stuff out for the Christmas parade. That's to cover advertising, as well as we'd like to see some bands in the parade, and to get bands there, you have to pay for the bands. So, it's a sad state when you can't get the high school band programs from any of the area schools. They all want money and everything.
Even the high school charges?
Yes. Yeah.
You have security in the parks for 2,000. What does that include? Just cameras or landlines, or what does it include?
That 2,000 is for whatever we need for security. A lot of times, the security system at Riverfront has gone down, and we can't internally make the corrections and repairs, and we have to call the security company up, and they have to come in and reboot and change configurations and everything, and that runs between $400 and $500 when they come in. We do need cameras up at the 132 ball field. There is no security cameras up there at this time, and we want to, with the additional use that that's getting, we feel we need some sort of safety up there. Fortunately, it wasn't ours that was vandalized, but the scoreboard was vandalized this past summer. Somebody went in and cut the copper ground off the scoreboard for 3 feet of copper. So
security in all parks, that would be a localized security system, something that would not go from, let's say, 132 to the police station?
No.
no.
Okay, so it'd be a localized system. You'd actually record or whatever it is within the park system, like at 132.
Like we have at Riverfront, we record there. It can be viewed from the police station as well as from the town office. It can be
right, but 132 in Buffalo Park would not have that right now.
Right.
The last question I have is dealing with landscaping at 132. The biggest user of the field, for at least in my understanding, is the football team. Now that the football team has become a high school sport run by the high school and getting high school funding.
Not yet. You gotta wait till after our town meeting.
I agree. Well, the warrant article is put in, but right now, the plan has been, and we've talked with Zach, who's the athletic director, football will be a high school sport right now, as far as he's concerned, and it will be funded by the high school, whether it's a warrant article or with his budget. If that occurs, they lose their club status and become a high school sport. Does that change their status and how they can use that recreational park? Or do we then, at that point in time, charge them
We can't.
for that use?
We have a lot of organized sports that use it. It's what, the Falcons? Peter, you know better than I.
Falcons have used it in the past. This year, the numbers were so low, they merged with Laconia. Tilton Northfield Little League signs it up for in the spring.
We have,
And I thought with the grant money from Riverfront, we can't charge for use of our parks.
Riverfront, we can't now.
I guess the only concern I have is it's no longer a private, but it's another taxpayer organization that is getting money.
They would still probably use it as a training field.
Right, but we're
Just their game field.
Tilton is splitting the bills, but other towns are using it, and I guess it's come up in a lot of different things that we've dealt with in this budget committee.
Same.
On other towns contributing to the
Well-
upkeep of that park because they're using it.
No, we get
Tilton
the
Northfield
labor.
Little League covers Tilton, Northfield, Canterbury, Samberton, I think Franklin now, because they've gone Cal Ripken. The Falcons, because I think Franklin, Tilton, Northfield, Samberton. So any of the youth organizations are not Tilton-based, they are basically regional.
So I guess the answer to my question, though, is although it has changed from a private club status to a high school athletic team, they still have full use of that practice field with no cost.
it's not a practice field, it's a game field only. They practice at Surratt Battery over in Northfield. That's their practice field.
Yep.
They play up there. Our field would not support daily practices.
Okay.
So they use it for, the middle school uses it, I believe it's once during the week for game.
Mondays are usually the JV games. High school is Friday night or Saturdays, and then the middle school is probably Wednesdays.
I guess my only concern would be is if they're getting funding for that team and for its fields, that funding should also find a way to come back to the town of Tilton to help support their programs.
Up until now, Friends of Winnisquam Football have done a substantial amount of work on the field. Tilton Northfield Little League has done nothing. The Falcons have done nothing. So they have in the past. I believe they will continue to help out.
When it becomes a high school sport, the Friends of Winnisquam Football
It's the coaches and
Excuse me, I'm talking.
Go for it.
Excuse me?
I said go for it, I'm waiting.
That was very insulting.
Ask the question and...
Right, and
We'll work on that.
Where I'm looking at, okay, lost my train of thought. Well, sir, I will...
You can come back.
It was
Come back.
successful, sir. You
Eric's-
managed to get that train of thought to go away.
Eric's involved in recreation, so he might have some questions. Yeah. And then you can think of it.
Why don't we have the...
Can I just add one more
did you
thing
have
to his other things? We also get, there's usually about 5 a year, families that reserve it during the summer for family reunions. And they use the fields for miscellaneous events and everything.
Do they have to pay for that service?
No.
Okay.
No.
So thank you, Kara. Can I just, you finally popped back in, and I will be quiet after that. What I was thinking about is we need to separate them now because it's not the Friends of Winnisquam football, it's a high school sport. So yes, I agree that the Friends of Winnisquam football have done a tremendous job in keeping that field up, but now that changes over because it becomes a high school sport. So therefore, if they're getting their funding to provide that service, should that we not at least investigate the fact that they may need to provide some funding to help offset the costs that we're going to take, or is the high school going to provide the same services that the Friends of Winnisquam football have been providing?
So you're saying we should consider a fee? That's very interesting.
Yep.
Because we've talked about selling advertising on the fence to offset costs, but you're right, if it changes,
They're asking
and
for
it's not a
28,000.
volunteer organization, good point.
What type of maintenance goes into the football field that we have to pay for? That would be like the lines?
No.
The high school has
The
been doing the
fertilizing,
lines
the
all
mowing.
along.
So that,
As far as the maintenance goes, we'd have to do the maintenance to keep the field in an open field situation. All this landscaping is mowing the fields, fertilizing the grass, and herbiciding. It's the same thing that goes on at Riverfront Park, Civil War Monument, Vest Pocket Park. They all get 5 treatments a year of fertilizer and herbicides to control the broadleaf grasses, keeping it in. If the football program went away, no more football, they handle it on their own fields, we'd still have the landscaping costs to keep those in a open grass field situation. So I don't think really we can, we can investigate charging the football program for the use of the field, but as far as landscaping goes, if they walked away tomorrow, we'd still have that landscaping cost there, because nothing that we're doing as far as landscaping is geared just to the football. The striping of the field, all that, the overseeding in the spring is all handled by the football program themselves. They spread additional grass seed every spring on the field at no charge to us, so.
Eric, did you have some questions?
We spent a substantial amount of money last year leveling the field.
Yes,
How
A
has
section of it.
a section.
It was particularly for the ice skating rink was one of
Correct.
the issues there. And I drove by the ice rink and it seemed like it's still not level. I drove by it yesterday and it seemed like the outlet side of it. I drove by it 2 days in a row. One day there was water flowing onto it, and the way the water was flowing onto it, it seemed like it was putting a hole into the ice because it was like kind of squirting and then dripping into the ice. So it looked like it might have been putting a hole into it, but you could tell where there was new ice. And in this cold weather, it didn't go from board to board. The side toward the outlet definitely seemed like it was old ice, if you will. And I didn't know is there still a leveling issue?
The side towards the outlet mall was actually deepest snow over there prior to us getting the pump fixed and getting everything up and running. So that's why it looks like older ice or so forth.
I'm talking about inside the rink.
Yes, yeah.
I went there yesterday, and because the day before, I saw that they were making ice. I said, great, it's cold weather, they're going to make ice. So I went back the next day to see what the ice would look like, and the right side, probably more towards the, if this is the rink right here, and this is the outlets, it was over here. This is the outlets over here. It was not level. You could tell that because there was no more hose or anything like that. So it just seemed like it wasn't.
We've gone from about an 18-inch drop in the 100 feet to probably 1 to 2 inches.
Okay.
If you go back in the spring and look, when it rains, it's puddling in that whole area. It's
If
not
you go
flowing.
and look right now, I was there this morning, the ice it looks so much better than it did when it was like this.
I mean,
18 inches at this end and none over here.
to be honest, again, Peter's done the bulk of the work on getting the ice. It's a learning process for us. We waited too long to get the
Liner in.
Because we couldn't move the liner. We had to get a tractor to come in and move in. Fortunately, Catherine eventually freed her tractor up and came down and moved it with family members and got it into the rink. And then we had conflicts in our schedules to spread the liner. We got 6 inches of snow, so the liner is actually on 4 to 6 inches of snow, so that's creating some of the problems you're seeing. Then we went to turn the pump on, and one of the valves on it was leaking water out. A knob, you can explain better.
There's a pressure release valve. The cistern comes in, there's a posi pressure tank, and then there's a pressure relief valve. And some water had built up there. There's a spring inside and had frozen. So it was just a matter, I took the valve off, went down, saw my buddy Billy, and we figured it out. We just turned the gasket around and made it nice and flat. And I went back and put it on, and it works fine. It doesn't leak. We do have a pressure gauge that was damaged, and I'll replace
Why don't we
that.
consider the highway department to landscape? It seems like we're spending
It's been,
$12,000 on landscaping, and
we have suggested that over a couple of years, have stopped suggesting that because the highway department insisted in submitting a bid as though the town was to make a profit.
doesn't make sense. Okay.
No, but that
It just
is,
seems like every year we hear about the contractors not fulfilling the contract at Riverfront Park, so we pay for services that we don't.
well, a good question to ask is why does the town of Tilton own 2 zero-turn radius lawnmowers?
Okay, why does the town of Tilton own 2 zero-turn
Because
lawnmowers?
the park
Highway
commissioners
department
told they were not
wouldn't allow the-
qualified to operate the town's zero-turn radius lawnmower.
It's probably something that selectmen can work out or discuss it, and I don't think as budget we can.
No, but
I agree.
I mean,
Yeah.
I thought the striping and the painting of the railings was supposed to be a one-time $5,000 expense. So if you take that out, we've still increased the budget by $5,000.
That's the anticipation of the landscaping bid, since it's 2 years old going out.
Did you bring that up? Eric, you can come back.
No, I'm good for now.
I'm good, but Jane go, because it's almost her birthday.
And she may not be able to talk this time next week. She'll be 70.
She might fall asleep early.
Did you put in new irrigation equipment at the 132 ball field this year?
No,
No? So there's no irrigation there at all?
just hose line.
Okay. And I also agree with Wayne about, one of my questions was about charging the school. In fact, they do go with that. Do you put the fireworks out for bid?
I'm not sure.
We didn't this year because we could only find one person that did it. We talked about that at one of the meetings, and we didn't have a clue who else, because you got to be licensed.
Yeah, but I just...
Did it in
I think
this
all
area.
They put that out for bid, I thought.
I don't know, that's one of the things we're going to talk about
Yeah, 'cause
for
that might be
the
something
coming
we'll look at.
season.
Because you've gone up considerably on what you're thinking it's going to cost.
Well, that's not just for fireworks.
What,
Can you break that down, maybe the cost of the fireworks? Excuse me, Jane, because it goes along with your question.
Yeah.
Break it down to what part is fireworks? and what-
1,500 is fireworks this year.
And then the balance was for bands, or...
Bands, advertising, supplies, paper products. I mean, we get a lot of stuff. The food items are all donated. The Rotary Club donates their time, and they use their number to go down to Panera Bread and get us the food items. Tilton Prep School donates the hot chocolate, and Starbucks donates the coffee to it. But the paper good, we have to buy the plates, the milk, the creamers, the butters, the cream cheese, that comes in. That's in that 2,500. Advertising, as I said, was in there. And then the bands would be in there.
I know the bands you have to pay for, but I think like the advertising, I think all but one paper will advertise for you free of charge if you're a nonprofit.
We do not classify as a nonprofit.
All right. Okay.
Because I know if you're talking as far as the Echo and Laconia Sun, we had to pay for the advertising in both of those.
Okay. Now, what programs did you have? I know there were a couple that got canceled, or there was one.
There was only one that got...
The pet one?
The pet one, because we had scheduled it for August, and we were told when we started approaching the vets to come in and set up that they would not participate at all in August and would not recommend doing a pet expo in August due to the extreme heat. They said April, May, June. We had 2 zoo programs, one in the spring, one in the fall. We had a bat program. We did a nature hike at Buffalo Park. There was one other program. What was the other? Oh, the wildlife. Wildlife in New Hampshire. We ran that. That was an hour-long evening program. So.
Are those well attended?
The 2 zoo programs were the best attendance. We had somewhere between 50 and 100 people at each of those. The bat, we had about 20. The wildlife one, for whatever reason, we only got 5 people at that. The hike, we had what, 7 or 8?
I think we had 8.
8 at the hike. So one of the things we have talked about is we need to get a better way of advertising these. I mean,
Well, I was going to bring that up. All of those are things I would have been interested in, and they had come and gone, or, you know, and really the only one I remember talking about was the pet one because it was canceled. So, you know, but those were all things I would have been very...
We had it on the website, but for whatever reason, people don't go to the website. We try to get articles into the paper so we don't have to pay for it, but we've also talked about getting a signboard up at Riverfront. Good. And actually have
That would be good.
stuff that you can put the letters right on, and probably have it 2-sided so that it faces towards town and faces towards Franklin, so you see it as coming by. We've been working with Vince Paratori on that, because Vince did the signs in Riverfront when that was developed and everything, and he's got us some cost figures and everything, and to be honest, it's a lot higher than what I was expecting, so we're still researching it more, so.
You ready, Pat?
Yep. I just had one question. I noticed that in two parts of your budget, there were two entries for security. Can you explain both of them for me, please? They each have $2,000. One, security repairs under Riverfront, and then security in all parks, $2,000. It says all parks.
Riverfront Park is Mango Security. It's an existing system, an older system. If there's any type of a pretty good lightning storm, we have to call them to come and reset it, and that's usually $400 or $500. It seems like every time they have to do something to the system because of its age, they're looking for parts and begging for parts and making parts for the system. We've talked about what it would cost to replace it, and that's quite a bit. So right now, we're holding our fingers that everything holds together well. The cameras have been moved, so it's just dealing with the pavilion area, and everybody knock on wood that we don't have any significant lightning storms. The other one that you see, the total for all the parks, is there are no cameras and motion lights in Riverfront, in the ball field, and as Bob said, there's already been vandalism at the scoreboard.
To add it at the ball field.
Yeah, there's been vandalism to the snack shack next to us. Best Pocket Park, there are no cameras, so if anything should happen to Squantum or anything else, we got nothing. I've talked to Captain Ryan about the cameras, and he says it's a very good idea, and with those, they want us, and we did that at Riverfront Park, we ended the infrared, so that at night, if somebody goes in there, you don't need additional lighting. As long as you have that infrared with the camera, you got them. In fact, they helped choose the locations for the new camera positions in the pavilion.
No more questions for you. It does cost a lot for Mango, because the senior center, it's $400 if they walk through the door. But I had another question, and do you remember, and this is directed at Catherine, if I may, the church lease, does that have a limitation on revenue derived from what they're asking you to do for football fields?
No.
Football teams to charge? It doesn't? Okay.
No, there's nothing in the lease from the diocese that limits us from charging any kind of fees or advertising on the fence. The only thing they have asked of us over the years is, for example, when we put in the well, we got permission from them. When we put in the storage shed, we got permission from them. When we make any significant change, we always contact them and let them know what we're doing, and they've been excellent. So.
I had a comment. Since Eric said something, I'm really kind of on the same page as him. I'm having a hard time understanding why the Public Works Department wouldn't maintain town properties. This seems really odd to me.
You're not alone.
I'm going to let Pat touch on this one.
I'm going to comment on that because we do not have a total consensus on the board on that. But there have been contentious moments in the past where the Highway Department has done the parks, and it was never done properly. And then when they finally bid the job, they bid it like any other
Yeah, but why would the Public Works Department bid the job?
Because they didn't want the job, because they could never do it right.
That sounds like...
Instead of putting it into the Public Works budget to do it, they put it into the parks.
Right.
The parks basically transfer the money out of their costs to do it to the public. So it stayed in the family, but, you know.
They basically the Public Works Department wanted whatever, we're in the bid process now, we pick a landscaper, this is what it's going to cost us for the season for them to do the parks. That's what Public Works wanted. So they wanted to do the work at a for-profit price. That'd be one thing if the selectmen said to the Public Works Department, you're going to be doing the maintenance of all the parks. Okay? We know what each employee costs us. I mean, Tim Pearson figures that out in a second. I think I've asked him so many times, he's already got it in the whole chart. So we know what it costs us. It's not rocket science.
Yeah, this doesn't seem to make sense. I mean, what are they doing in the spring, summer, and fall when they're not plowing roads? And I mean, are they so strapped that they can't mow lawns a couple days a week?
No, they're not, but you're not catching my drift here.
I guess I'm not.
They never did the job properly according to the Parks Department.
Okay.
Suffice to say,
We've tried a
let's
couple
just-
different formulas for doing it, and then in the past, we've had part-time people working at the Public Works.
The Public Works,
Has been an issue, you know, how you allot time when they're down. So the Public Works has a certain number of employees, and they plan that for doing all of the work that they have to do. So their thoughts were that they would have to hire another employee.
They usually did.
Yeah. And then they'd have to keep them busy on the other parts of that time, too, so.
And I'm in the same confusion, because as I drive by the police station, they're out mowing the lawn at the police station. As they go over to the island, they're mowing the lawn at the island, and fixing the bridge, going across to the island. The little cemetery up above on Route 3, they do, all the little sites. My favorite is going up towards the school, they do the little median that goes straight up through.
The island is not under the jurisdiction of the Parks.
Yes, I know, and I'm just saying, and I'm under the same confusion you are, that they're doing all this other work that is not really town-related.
Right.
one of the problems is,
I mean, mowing grass and setting blades at 3 inches isn't rocket science. I mean,
and therein lies part of the problem. That's not the only thing the landscaper per se does at the park. A riverfront park especially, I mean, that's the big one. So the landscaper has to mulch, and they mulch according to what the park commissioners want. We don't like the cone thing. It's not good for the tree, so, you got to mulch correctly. You have to weed the flower beds. Well, our public works guys really don't like weeding. We've had an issue.
Job.
Nevertheless,
Then find people, there are people looking for work, then let's find people that can. I mean,
they probably don't like snow plowing either, but they have to.
One thought is, okay, we have somebody, I'll get to you when I'm done. We have one person that does picking up around the park and doing those things, who has the herbicide and fertilizer license. Would that person be interested in also doing the mowing?
they're not able to. We've already talked to him. It's more than he can handle, because he does have other clients he takes care of besides what he does for us.
Would he do the fertilizer part, and possibly we could find somebody to, I'm sure you've looked at all different angles, but it's a, like I said, it seems like a, and it's been for years that this has been tossed around different formulas.
And I'm sure, I mean, I'm new this year, and I'm probably asking something that's been beat to death at prior years, but to me, as a taxpayer, it doesn't make sense to me that our Public Works Department wouldn't be cutting grass on town property. To me, it seems stupid.
Well, we're one of the few communities in New England where there isn't a lot of cooperation between the Public Works and the maintenance of the parks.
And I mean, the last time, as Pat was saying, the last time that the Public Works did it, you'd get it mowed some weeks, twice a week.
Yeah.
Other weeks, it would go for 15 days during the summer and be 6 inches high before they could find the time to get down there and mow it.
Well, that almost sounds to me as more of a management issue, and we don't want to do it issue.
Maybe we can, Pat, you, what do you think to say?
I have a lot to say, but it's getting into something that we really don't want to get into, and it sounds to me with Eric's comment that it's getting into a personnel issue, and I will not enter into that conversation.
Right.
You want to talk about generalities in the highway department and what they do and what they don't do?
Yeah, I
get
think
it.
maybe if we look at it, as a budget thing, it does appear, everything has its appearance that we're spending money for outside contractors that possibly could be done in-house, and think it's something
We have
that,
looked at this for many years, since I've been a selectman, and the easiest, not the most affordable, but the easiest congeniable way to do it would have been the Parks Commission get their own.
Yeah, I guess we really need to separate policy from our role as determining the budget. And my concern as a taxpayer is we're duplicating this part of the budget to the point that the tax rate is being affected adversely because we have that duplication. But again, just looking at it from money, it just seems to me to be a duplication of monies.
it's a really,
There's a very different time for, the Parks Commission requires a certain amount of mowings per year too, per season too. It's not like the PD gets, mowed once a week and, maybe the cemeteries get mowed once a week. They have a certain amount of times that they require as per their RFPs that go out. They want, I don't know what it is this year, 26 weeks? 26 cuttings? Yeah.
Yes.
So, they're very specific on how many that they want and how often, and so on and so forth.
part of it is the type of grass, whereas, like the police department's just, has to look nice, where the parks have to look nice and also be utility. But it's a...
Yeah, so the Parks Commission has a set schedule where the police department does not have a schedule for mowing or the island. It's just catch as you can, and that can't be arranged.
They have a schedule for weather. He makes a point to do it
Right.
like once a week.
But they don't.
Weather permitting, yeah.
Right, but they don't have a line item in their budget for landscaping.
They have a line item in their budget for mowing and things like that, yeah.
Police department?
No, highway.
No, I'm talking about the separate other parts of the agency that deal with that.
Highway.
Yeah, so they don't have a separate budget. It's the police department or whatever. And they don't have a schedule. It's just when
As needed.
they come when they come. And that can't be set up at the highway department.
The Parks Commission is very different from the PD or Highway Department. The Parks Commission is their own entity. We don't make decisions. They don't come to the selectmen to make decisions. They're their own autonomy. They make their decisions. They do what they feel is right for the Parks and Recreation Department. They send out the RFPs. The selectmen don't do that. They do that. They award the bids. They sign into the contracts. They do all of that. They do the purchasing and so on with the budget, just like it's very similar to Peter in the Sewer Commission. It's his own entity. We don't have, selectmen don't have control over that. So it's a very separate entity here.
Right. But it's the budget committee, we have the control over their budget. And if we were to say, we don't think this is appropriate, and we were to cut that money out, then you would have to find an alternative way to get that completed, correct?
If you cut that money out, the lawns would not get maintained.
And there'd be a lot of ticks.
Okay.
And you couldn't...
Because we could not go to the highway department because there is no money in the highway department's budget to do landscaping. Plus, the highway department doesn't have the licenses to put fertilizer down. They don't have the licenses to put herbicides or pesticides down. So we had to contract that. When the highway department was mowing, we had to have a separate entity come in and do the fertilizing, spraying, and that sort of stuff. So it just got very complicated having the highway department trying to do this, and then there was no set schedule. Talking with the experts from UNH on lawn maintenance for parks, there's a pretty rigid regime that you've got to maintain as far as when the fertilizer go down, types of fertilizer, the types of pesticides, and how the grass is mowed. That's all what's followed in our RFP, we follow that guideline that UNH Cooperative Extension turf specialist set up for us and everything, so.
One of the things is, if we're looking at, why can't the Public Works do it? Because they mow the police department and they mow the others.
But those other two areas have no...
Here's where I'm going with that. Why couldn't we look at, why can't the Parks Department take over all the mowing for the town possibly? And just have one full-time, or, summer seasonal position that takes care of all the grass in the town? And take that money that's given to this is just a thought, and we're not gonna change it. This is something for Pat to work on. So, look at it that way, and got the police department and all those, and it might be more economical where we're saying, and like everybody's saying, we're looking at the budget costs, and
You have to remember that the
do it.
Public Works mows all of the little cemeteries.
I was just gonna say,
Exactly.
I mean, there's a lot of areas that they mow, they maintain around the town garage. So if the park commissioners were going to do that and hire someone, it would take more than one person, because
You could have
mowing of the
emergencies.
fields is not the only thing the landscapers do. There's
Well,
brush control, there's flower bed maintenance, there are a lot of things that they have to
I'm
do.
not asked to get into the details here, but let's look at it. Let's, try and be creative in some way to, and I know this has been going up for years.
Well, that's why the park commissioners maintain their own labor, their own time, we voluntarily take care of the 132 ball field.
Because the cost there
It was crazy.
was crazy. I mean, it's a straight ball field, and that was costing us almost $5,000 just for the mowing
Yeah.
of that.
Short-term.
Now, the RFPs that went out, are they reflective in the budget that you have presented?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, because that's
he
what I'm
ask?
looking at, because
Yeah.
you're looking at 2014. So you're looking at 25, well, I forgot how much money it was. That is the maximum amount you're willing to spend on an RFP for that service.
Correct.
Okay, so if we cut that, then you would have to take a look at your RFPs and adjust your budget to meet that.
You'd be telling us to
Item.
go out and play, let's make a deal with these landscapers?
Well, I'm just asking the question. I'm not saying anything, I'm asking the question. Let's say that we reduce that by $500. How would that affect your RFP?
We'll have to go back to whoever we select, and if by chance they came in under what we're estimating, we'd be fine. But if you cut 500 and they came in well over what we're estimating, we'd have to negotiate them down to what we're estimating, plus down additional monies. I mean, we're figuring that we can get them done for these prices, and that's why we bumped them up a little bit, because we know costs have gone up and everything, but we have had to negotiate with the 2 years ago to come in at what we had estimated and everything, so.
I had a question, getting back to the use of the high school using the football field. Do they use any of the other towns? Any of their facilities for recreation or anything?
They use Surratt Battery Park in Northfield. That's their practice field. That's where they practice every afternoon. That field can stand, it's a deeper soil, isn't as well drained, so the sod is better and can stand the practice over there. It's not of the size needed for the game field and everything. That's why they use
Officially, they can speed it up and...
Right, yes.
So, I just want to make sure we're bearing the brunt of all of it and nobody else is,
I mean-
maintaining or anything for the...
Is Samanton bearing any? Probably not as far as the football goes. It's between us and Northfield. They don't charge for the Surratt Battery field either. They use that free of any charge over in Northfield, so.
And do they have a boosters club or anything for the football team?
That's, the booster club is.
All the teams have booster clubs.
I mean, do they donate any type of
Battery owned by North.
upgrades or anything to the field, or?
But right now, it's, all that money
that
is
was the
funding
old
the program.
Factory.
If the warrant article passes at the school district meeting, that will now go into a general boosters fund. So any of the boosters that raise money, it all goes into the same pot and then gets divvied among all the different sports.
The security cameras were originally installed by Mango?
Yes.
How long ago was that?
When the park was built.
How many years? 6 years?
I was going to say 7.
7 years.
7 years.
A lot's changed in security cameras and prices of cameras and what's needed to install them. I think that it's time to bid that out to other companies for our security and other places around the town too. Mango's not known for being the most economical way to go, and I can tell you from having a Mango security system that it was very
I agree with you,
expensive for the
John,
cost.
and we tried bidding it this year and got nowhere. No one would even talk to us about the system at, Catherine, you can.
The way the system is designed, it's really, you'd have to start as there were no system at all. Even the cameras themselves are outdated. We didn't get new cameras. We had to move the old cameras because you can't buy new cameras for our system. So you would be replacing everything from step one.
An IP camera, these things, what used to cost $1,000 before, is now like $200.
Right, but it's not just the camera. Remember, this system is monitored from other locations.
It's from by an IP address. They
Right.
go over the IP address. If you have that, and then you can log in and you can look at it. These are
I mean,
simple things that are.
and it's not a dead
You
issue.
put it in your home.
We wanted to upgrade the system down at Riverfront and put additional cameras down along fishing piers.
Yeah.
7 additional cameras down there. Mango came in at, we're not recorded, are we?
Yes.
Yes, we are.
Okay, Mango came in at one price, I'm not gonna even quote. Somebody said, well, I can do it cheaper. And we said, fine, give us a bid for it. He came back in and it was about $2,000 cheaper than what Mango did, but you're still talking more than our entire budget for those 7 cameras.
Well, I can say that people think because we're in a municipality that we get all kinds of money and we can just pull it out of the taxpayers' pockets. And you can look at the same equipment and you can look up the prices online and they triple or quadruple the prices. And we need to work harder towards cutting these costs because we're looking at a 4.9% increase in taxes. And the schools, what are they,
8.6.
8.6?
Jesus.
We've got some warrant articles that are going to raise even more things. The county, they just dumped even more stuff on us, and instead of lowering their taxes, they spent what they saved. So we're getting nailed, and we got to get creative somehow, and because it's to a point where people aren't going to be able to afford to sell their houses because their taxes are high. And
But you have to remember, in Riverfront Park, it's not so much the components as it is running, the labor to run all the wires, to connect everything together.
Well,
And we've had
didn't
prices
even tell you
from-
that, but I agree, everything's wireless now. I could go and for $500, put cameras up on all 4 corners of my property and do it. And I can do it with a ladder and a
But
screwdriver.
we talked to them
And
about
I
wireless.
think we really need,
I mean, we appreciate what you're saying, because we have spent the summer doing this. And we did talk wireless with a couple of companies, and when I...
Still gotta
when we-
have electricity to run that wireless camera. And that's where we don't have the electricity available, so we were gonna run it on the light poles, figuring we had, the electrician said, no, you need whole separate wiring to run the cameras. You can't run them off the,
Can't go in the same conduit.
can't go in the same conduit, can't run it. I mean, we looked at it, and I agree, if you can find us somebody, if you know somebody that does security, give us a name and we'll contact them and everything, but...
No,
Yeah, no.
good God, no.
Yeah, it's,
The camera systems we're talking about, 132 and Best Pocket, are very similar to what you're describing, because we're not saddled with what we already have. We could start from new.
Tiger Direct, plug it in.
Yep. Yep, the only thing we have to be concerned is the quality, so that they can be ID'd. You just can't see a figure. You gotta be able to identify them.
There's some pretty good stuff out
That's
there.
what I say, there's some pretty good
I don't want to beat it,
Yeah.
on managing the parks. And I'm sure you're frustrated over costs too, but if the voters can have to be, I don't know, I fear lanterns and ropes in a town meeting.
Here's a company for you. I've been using them for over 20 years. When I worked at the police academy, right up to
Very nice.
the veterans home, and please tell him I told you to call, and
Thank you.
Excellent.
that's his cell phone number.
Great.
And make sure you mention my name. Yep.
So that's,
If anything, he'll tell you what you have and what you need to go to. He'll shoot you straight.
Perfect.
Otherwise, you'll hear from
where
me.
else we can go with this, but does anybody else have any questions or
Thank you.
stuff?
Not for him, no, I just, for the budget in general.
Thanks for doing it. Doing the parks.
Sorry to put you through so much.
But
Hey,
you always got away with not showing up.
showing up. Have a good evening.
Peter, thanks a lot.
Skating on the skating rink even as we sit here?
I'm not sure.
If we had a camera, I could look on it.
Yeah, we can
Right here.
go right in.
Can we do that?
We can do anything we want.
We're definitely gaining on it. So, I would say probably by this weekend, you should be able to skate up there.
Isn't it amazing?
There you go.
You can do anything.
It's your birthday.
We can recommend. We can make any recommendations you want.
Birthday if I don't see you.
The fifth, she's pushing it.
Okay, let's take a look at the agenda. Okay, the
Is the
next
town
thing
sending you flowers or anything?
was the town budget.
Shoots me.
Filled out the lines.
Not the budget. But if shoot me first.
I'm looking at this, we don't, we don't have anything for administrative telephone. Why is that?
It's in
It's in IT.
It's the IT budget,
In the IT, so we don't
information
do that.
technology.
Anybody else see anything on here?
Yeah, Genesis has no amount in it that we recommended, and I believe that was a 0. Last page, page 8.
Last page. 8,
No, keep going, last page.
5 of 8, 7 of 8, 8 of 8, and agencies. Genesis, and we recommended 0, we voted on that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anything else on there?
The only thing I have on that, the enforcement, parking enforcement, we have a 0. I think we should put $1 in. Just to maintain that, because if we have
If she raises her hand.
if we have the explorers do it, we have different explorers come in and they need vests and things like that, there wouldn't be any way for anything to get if we just completely zero it out.
I thought that was a salary line.
Yeah,
The
the
0
equipment
though.
can be purchased through the
Police-
detailed fund. That fund is for equipment,
Okay.
not just cruisers. They have an equipment line, I think. There's a couple of lines.
What about parking tickets? I mean, you know, if he wanted to reorder parking tickets associated with parking, he would be able to order it because it's parking.
Office supplies.
Parking.
All I can say is
You can't borrow from another line if the budget committee is zeroed out parking.
we zero parking enforcement
Right.
Salaries.
salaries. And I can say that,
Parking
as,
enforcement also had the shirts in it for the parking.
Doesn't say that, it's his salaries, I think.
Yep, it just
and
says salaries.
I mean, just from being a downtown merchant, I had a business down there, and the police used to enforce it, and they bought tickets, and they did that, and they always were able to before we had this line item, so I think we can cover that, my thoughts.
It says salaries, parking enforcement, that's what was
I
zeroed
think
out.
that's in a different line.
Yeah, it
printing
is.
or-
It's 4210.50-130, and it's very specific, it does say salaries.
Okay. Anything else?
I'm hung up on this whole landscaping issue. I'm hung up on this landscaping issue. So what I kind of did is I cut,
Parks, right?
yeah, but what I did is I went back to the highway department and I cut $12,000. Just making little notes based on what they spent. Is that, I mean, it just seems like we're,
You want to cut 12,000 out of the highway department?
yes ma'am,
For what?
Let's take a look.
to cover the cost of the landscaping that the parks has to do.
You have to remember that the highway department has its own set of...
Their bones.
Wait, hang on, let's...
Not based on
wait.
what they spent last
I
year.
didn't know. Eric? Okay, all right. Eric, can you go over some line items
Sure.
and what you suggested?
Sure, on page 6, on the third line down, 4311-40130, part-time wages. Last year they spent $8,700. So if you cut that by $2,000, but they requested $10,800, keep it level funded.
That's the person that we hire for winter plowing.
Winter
So
plowing.
you're gambling on,
Right.
what do we get for storms? Like this year, we'll probably exceed the budget.
But even in
Last
salaries,
year-
even in straight salaries, we underspent this year's budget by $10,000. Just hear me out.
Yep. Let me take a look at, go ahead.
Next going down,
Part-time.
99370 highway equipment rental. You cut $500 out of there. They only spent $848 last year.
This year, he's renting equipment to do the sidewalk construction repair.
Well, I cut there
That
too.
will cut that out.
The building repairs, line 470. They underspent their budget by $1,000 last year, so I cut $500.
Which line was it?
99470, building repairs.
Don't you think we should at least ask him, there may be something coming up that has...
Well, I was just gonna say, we're talking about a
hang on.
manager who's,
Let's just let Eric completely talk.
The last three lines, 99710, road materials. They underspent their budget last year. I took $2,000 out of there.
Which one was this?
Road materials. Then the next line down was 720 subcontractors. I took $1,000 out of there.
Like his street sweeper.
So they don't get plowed 1 week, or swept 1 week.
Is, I had a question on that line for the selectmen. That 720 line, the 13.6, is that just street sweepers?
Yeah.
Do you know what the contract is for the street sweepers? How much?
It was 5,000, no, 6,000 and something last year.
How many jobs do they do?
In fall.
It's all summer long.
And all summer in Main Street. The villages are spring and fall in Mansfield area. That alone was 2,300. We solved that whole area up there, Mansfield, Manville. And then they do the village, which would be Chestnut, Maplewood, Cedar, Prospect.
The last line, 730, highway, buildings, grounds, and maintenance. I took $1,000 out of there.
Buildings, ground, and maintenance.
Well, they only spent $1,500 last year. 1,400 if you round down. Storm drains,
This is their septic being pumped, that's what that is.
okay.
They're not on
That's
sewer.
previous.
No, I said 1,000 out of that.
1,000?
Yeah,
Out of building grounds and maintenance?
yeah. And then on page 7, 99750, highway, storms, and drains. They did not spend any money last year. It was $3,000, so I cut $1,000 out of that for this year. And then the next line down, 99760, sidewalk construction. They only spent $744, and I took $4,000 out of there.
He's coming in tomorrow with a very specific plan
Sidewalk.
for road construction plans this year and sidewalk. He's coming in at 4:30 tomorrow.
Well, I was just looking for places to find $12,000. And that's 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
To take it away from
10.
parks.
Nope.
Take it away from
Hang
highway
on,
to give it
that's
to
just,
parks.
I understand that your concerns, but we kind of keep it to this, and
Well, it's just a
anybody wants to
discussion,
ask,
there's no
yeah.
motion.
I know, but it's a budget committee meeting. It's a budget committee meeting.
It's,
Well, we're part
it's
of it.
part of
No,
it.
no, the selectmen are not included in the budget committee meeting in this part, except for the selectmen's representative. So you are actually the audience, but if anybody wants to ask questions, and I think all these
Thought
things...
this was a joint meeting.
No. It is not a joint meeting for the budget committee part of it. It is for the interview of that. The budget committee meeting is for the budget committee members. Everybody in the audience is just the audience. And we will ask, and I respectfully will ask questions on things like this, because having you here is very important. But it is a budget committee meeting, so I think that's real clear. I'm going to make a motion that we cut $1,000 from 4312.99-730, which is the building grounds and maintenance, and someone will discuss it.
I'll second it.
And we have a second. I made the motion. Being somebody who gets up real early in the morning every day and drives through downtown, I can say that numerous times during the summer, I saw Rabbit doing the center of town, sweeping the streets when they were perfectly clean. I think we can cut back on some of the street cleaning in the middle of the summer. Spring is important, and the rest of the year, in the fall, after the leaves are important. But in the middle of the summer, I drive through town every single morning, and I see them numerous times, like I said, cleaning a street that's already clean. And I think $1,000 off of that is reasonable to...
What line number is that?
And that would be the last
Make sure you don't-
line on
That's the wrong
on
line.
page 730. Isn't that
No.
building grounds meeting?
720.
No, 720 would be the street.
Subcontractors.
Okay, I withdraw that motion and change that to 720, highway subcontractors. And, did you want to withdraw the second?
I'll withdraw the second of my original second.
Anybody else want to discuss that or ask the selectmen any questions that present? If they have any
I have the sweeping history for the last 5 years of winter sand and maintenance in my hand. There's a lot to digest here. But I'd be more than glad to copy it. My personal opinion is that we sweep, the sweeping that we do is not equitable. We keep Main Street especially swept, and as you say, there are times that it just doesn't need to be swept, and it is swept. But we don't do the same due diligence for the other parts of town, such as the Lockmere area, the Winnisquam area, as we do Main Street. But I do have that if anybody wants to look at it.
Anybody else, any comments on that motion?
I disagree with it. I think that the highway department has done a great job in their budget, has kept it underneath and within limits, and they have done everything in the world to save money. And it appears that we're reacting to the Parks Department request for an increase by punishing the highway department.
I'm going to have to say, Wayne, we're working on the motion, so let's stick to that motion.
I am.
To cut street sweeping.
Is that part of the highway department?
It's not a retaliation thing, it's,
I
and I don't want to go that route on it.
I am saying, you asked for my opinion, you asked for my discussion.
Go ahead.
That, I consider that to be out of order, because my discussion is to deal with that motion, and I'm expressing my feelings around why that motion is on the floor. And my true feeling is that, first off, the assumption was made that this money will go over to Parks and Recreation. That is not true. It would go back into the general budget to be used by anybody. The second piece is, I feel that this motion, and I hopefully have the right to express that opinion, was in retaliation for the grass cutting, and therefore I cannot support that motion.
It's not retaliation. We're paying the highway department the work. How many of our employees they have? 40 hours a week. Okay? It seems like common sense would be that...
I want to make sure that we focus on, we have a motion on the floor to remove the $1,000 from the subcontractors.
Okay.
And I don't want to go down a route that it's retaliation. I made the motion, I stated why I made the motion, and that's solely the only reason.
I second that motion.
The second, any other discussion? Okay. All those in favor of cutting $1,000 from line item 4312.99720, which is highway subcontractors, and the final number would be $12,630. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
2, 3, 3.
Motion does not pass.
Motion fails, no majority.
May I say something?
Sure.
It concerns me because I don't think it's up to the budget committee to manage either the highway department or the parks department. I don't think that's in our purview. And that's what I agree that I think that's what's happening. That's, I think, done at a
okay,
higher level than
Okay,
the
I don't
budget
even want
department.
to go that route with the thing. There's no personal things, and nobody, you know, we
That's
all
not
have things.
personal, that's departmental, that's
And
municipal
anybody, if
government.
there are any other line items on here that people would like to adjust, we can address those.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion that we accept the Selectmen's recommended budget of $40,156 for line item 4520.99/932, Park Commission expenses, page 7 of 8.
Okay. We have a motion
I'll second
and a
that.
second to accept the Parks Commission, the Selectmen's recommended budget for the Parks Commission. And we have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Okay,
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
sure.
Question is dealing on page 3 of 8, dealing with finance. We have two line items that have zeros in them, 4150-55340, technology expense. My eyes are not playing tricks on me. 4150-99335, training and dues, excuse me, 4150-99999, finance late fees. Has Tim gotten back to us about changing those, or are we accepting of the zeros? The closing out of the
He's
line
very
items?
proud of the fact that there will be no late fees paid in the town of Tilton.
Oh, I'm also concerned about technology expenses.
That's in the
That's
IT
moved
budget.
down to the information technology.
That's now in IT. I'm just trying to get it on record where it went to.
Yep.
Okay, so that line item is now defunct and will now, the next budgets, it'll show up under the IT budget?
You
thank
won't
you.
see that line item in your next budget. It'll go
Okay,
around.
great, thank you.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Did we get an answer back on the cruiser purchase plan?
Yes, we did get that back. There was a purchase plan that went out, and that is, it was, replacement.
There's a newly created,
Right, there was an old one and a new one.
there's a newly
right.
created one, but I don't believe the Board of Selectmen have accepted it.
The 5-year plan, that one.
Yeah, the- Okay. There is a new plan, which replaced the old plan. He's got a new plan here.
Well, it hasn't replaced the old plan because the Board of Selectmen haven't accepted it. Has the Board of Selectmen
2
just,
years ago,
no, that was just
2012.
created.
It was sent to me.
It was I just had a conversation with the PD yesterday, I stopped in,
I did too.
and specifically that has not been accepted by the Board of Selectmen. But regardless, if you look at it and compare it with the one that was presented in 2010, I mean, that I believe is basically a cruiser a year, and if you look at 2010, that's also pretty much a cruiser a year. So they're very similar in that respect.
That's what happened, I think at the last meeting, we discussed the purchase two were put into service last year.
Right, and they're asking for another one this year.
And they're asking for one this year, and there'll be one cruiser being switched out on a schedule to replace different vehicles as they age. And most of them have two different possibilities, whichever one is worse. And that's to do it. plan is different than the one not to buy any last year. It's changed.
So did we vote at the last meeting to support that purchase of another car for this year? So they see it's in the line as budget committee recommended budget as $15,000 in that line. So I'm sorry if I missed that discussion.
No, that's, we did vote on that. I was the only one who voted against purchasing it. Everybody else voted for. Is that correct? It was, it was for. My thoughts were that they should use IT money, some of the IT money from the detail fund, and if we have enough, purchase it from the cruiser from the detail fund as well.
And the other side of that was that I think they had to order it at a certain time, and it couldn't wait till...
By February, I think.
If it wasn't like February 14th or 28th.
Well, there's a discount that's available.
For 3%.
3% discount. Is that, do we bid that out?
28,000 is what?
Do we bid that out?
Occasionally.
Who do we buy them from?
The last one we got from Auto, last three we got from AutoServe. We've gone to Capone, Irwin, and AutoServe.
Was the sole reason for ordering it, and buying it and budgeting it in because of the 3%?
No,
Or save money
the sole
or-
reason. The sole reason was the car needs
plan.
to be replaced. The plan.
We have one last budget item that does not have any number in it, and for my sense of obsessive compulsiveness, we're on page 5 of 8, 4210-99360, PD telephone.
In the IT budget.
Went to IT, but we usually stick a 0 in it to let you to go. Do we want to put a 0 in that?
Where is that?
On the top.
We did override telephone administration, because I was just looking at
The
that.
selectmen also left the budget blank, too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But it's a line item, and again, my obsessive compulsive just puts zeros in where zeros belong.
We've got administrative telephones, we got the same situation.
It's an IT.
Police liability.
No, I know, but I'm saying...
Oh, you want
there's
to see the
Because of the
zero.
obsessive compulsive.
Yeah, I
need to see
think it's...
Humor me, I'm almost
means
70.
that nothing
You've got
can be
it.
put into there, so it's
Give
very
you the
clear.
zero.
Okay.
So you want to make that motion that we change line 360?
Yes, to a 0.
to zero?
Also the admin one.
Into the admin.
And also,
Police
let's
liability.
see the line.
450?
for that.
To put zeros in those areas.
What?
360.
thought I
And
was-
335, we're gonna go that route.
Which one?
Police liability.
Hang on.
360. And the other one was what, Eric?
335.
335 in police department.
In the police department,
360 and 335.
360, 335,
Where's 335?
It's
police
next page
liability.
Police liability, it's on
Page
page
4,
4.
third line up.
Page 4.
So
So
moved.
we have a motion to put 0 in the budget committee's recommended budget for those two line items. And you have a second?
I'll second it.
And a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
And I have one further question. Pat, where are we with the warrant articles at this point in time?
The selectmen haven't received them yet to go over. That's on our agenda tomorrow.
Okay.
I talked with John last night. I do have some information on the contract.
Do we have outside warrant articles?
Yep.
That involve money?
Nope. Well, sort of.
Okay.
It's not a secret.
clear
There's a
as mud.
petition warrant article being circulated to eliminate the paper bag and go to voluntary recycling. So that would eliminate, I would assume it would eliminate the Casella contract for $87,000.
So it is the money.
If it's passed.
Right. So you're going to be reviewing those tomorrow? At your meeting?
Recommendations on that.
Okay.
No, it's a petition warrant article.
We don't do
No, we don't.
You don't.
Petition warrant.
You kind of leave those alone. Even if they're worded wrong, you're just gonna go,
And out of the warrant articles that are coming to us, are any of those for money?
If contract negotiation one is coming in the form of money,
We knew that was going to be a little straggler. Meaning, we knew it was going to be coming in last minute because it's a difficult thing, and
we have a town hall closing that's pushing off into the meeting room for a non-public room, which we've wanted to do for a couple of years now. There's no place at all to have a non-public, in order for us to have a non-public. We either have to ask Johanna if she's going to be in the office or not, because it has to be non-public, and we have to disturb her day, or we have to find another venue somewhere else around town to have that.
Now, is there a reason why we haven't gotten that for our
We
recommendation?
went out for, last year we went out for bids, and then, if you remember, we put a lot of our resources into the PD last year to make sure that everything was done correctly, and the server went last year, so we had to replace the server.
I mean, why has it been submitted to the budget committee for their recommendation? Because
Not yet, because we're going over the numbers tomorrow with the selectmen. So we're just getting some budget items, some budget bids from different contractors and so on.
because next week we have the public
The
hearing,
public hearing, correct.
and it's a little difficult to try and mix a budget committee.
The warrant articles are going to have to be different. We're going to try to get them to as soon as we can, but
We'll have to have it by next week. Well, we have a public hearing, and we have to do a budget, we have to go and vote on the budget committee recommendation, would be next week at the latest, so that we can present them to the public hearing on the warrant articles, which would be the second week of February.
Zero, we did that. Yeah.
second
No,
week
that
of
was
February.
back.
We
Oh,
can,
but it's on here, it says.
as soon
Zero.
as if we make votes on whatever we vote on tomorrow night, we can forward them to you on Friday.
Yeah, and then that way everybody can look at it with as much detail, you know, and explanations, because we won't have that ability to... Any other warrant articles that are going to involve
No,
money?
good.
The revaluation capital reserve, the 20,000 to go into that, revals this year. And then 1,500 to the lake improvement. the
milfoil.
No point.
And then, kind of would be the total.
So we could vote on the 1,500, whether we recommend that tonight.
What's that?
We could vote on the recommending of the $1,500 milfoil tonight. Is that one article?
Yeah, and then the 20,000 reval, we have not voted on any.
Right.
This is
Well-
draft, but the 20,000, we've been putting it away. This will be the fourth year, the fourth and final year, because 2014 is the reval.
That's a draft? Is that the exact same as previous year?
This year, the budget.
That's the draft of the warrant articles we're
This is the
proposing.
draft of the warrant articles that we were kind of playing
Well,
with.
as budget committee, we can vote on if those are going to be the warrant articles the way they're written, right?
But we don't know
They haven't
that.
been voted on, so we don't know if they are.
We haven't-
We've already eliminated one warrant article that we had anticipated having. It wasn't money. Well, it sort of might have been.
The only concern,
We only have, so we'll have the
The milfoil's going to be in there.
milfoil will be in there, so we can
The
vote on
20,000
that.
for the reval, but that, the money may change because this is last year. And correct me if I'm wrong, Catherine, didn't we say that the fourth year, it may
Change so that we come up with
change
the right...
something to, it was $94,000 altogether, or 84,000, so we put out 20,000, 15,000, and then we upped it to 20 to kind of smooth it over a little bit, so it wouldn't be a tremendous gap in the,
Yep,
on the fourth year, and then the fourth year it would be different.
we'll make up the difference.
We'll make up
the balance.
So that's why I don't think we're gonna, I don't think we should hold to the, wait until we get it tomorrow from Joyce.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the revenues?
Didn't he give you the revenues
Yeah,
last
Have
week?
the
we have
we
to-
got the revenues.
We
got
have
them
to
last
go
week,
over
I
those.
think.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just have a quick question about the reval. We have to do that, what, every 5 years? So, and we'll have always, like, even next year, even though we'll have done it this year, we're gonna put money back into that.
Right.
So,
Every year we'll fund the
Okay.
reserve.
well, no, you just said this was the last year, so it's almost like it's a yearly.
Well, of the 5 years.
Okay.
Every year we put in 15 or 20,000.
Yeah.
And this year is actually, we're gonna expend all of that money.
So next year, we're gonna start
And
filling the
this
kitty
next year,
again.
we'll start all over again.
Like an
putting away
escrow
money.
account?
Right.
That's exactly what it is.
Okay.
That earns no interest.
What time did we advertise the public hearing? It started at 7?
7.
We'll have to start the public hearing at 7, and then after that, we'll have to go into voting on these warrant articles,
Yep.
as well as approving recommendations for the revenues. So
I
we
do
get,
have the monies for the contract.
Okay, so that has been pretty well set. Great.
we have, so, and it's all been approved by the selectmen and
Selectmen in the union has been ratified, yes.
okay, so we'll have to make recommendations on that next
It'll-
week, too.
Yeah, but you wanted this ahead of time, right?
Yeah, if we can get it kind of late, if we could get copies, can you send?
I have copies,
And-
I'll just skim over to you. It'll take 5 minutes just to skim over, just the highlight of the, I'm not
Okay.
going into
Yeah.
the language, I'm just
Right.
going into monies.
And then everybody, if there's any more questions, we can...
Well, I had a question. Merle.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Did any of the stuff that Eric brought up need to be
Thanks, Pat.
a motion or voted on, or?
Did you want to make motions?
I was just opening it up for discussion and trying to look outside the box. And we had this letter too that we had to,
Well, Genesis?
Genesis.
yeah. I don't know, it just says you have a note up here.
Yeah. Does anybody want to make any more adjustments to the budget?
Okay.
If you can't meet here for non-public, where do you meet?
Sometimes we crowd into Joyce's office, and sometimes we, 1 week, we went up to the senior center. Another time, we've asked Joanna to leave.
Does it have to be a public building?
Cool.
What time do you work until?
3 o'clock.
Until 3?
Yep.
So after 3, there's nobody else up here? Traditionally?
On Thursdays there is.
Thursday, sure.
I stay up here until
Oh.
Selectmen's meeting starts on
And you're
Thursdays.
selectmen, right?
Not as a health.
Yeah, last time I checked.
So if, I'm just throwing this out there, if nobody else is in the room after 3, Johanna leaves, it's kind of a moot point, because you don't have to throw anybody out, because the only people here are selectmen.
If it's after 3, correct.
Yeah, and I can say that over the past 10, 15 years I've known selectmen, it's only until recently that we've met before 3, unless there was an emergency. So I just want to let you know that that's where I'm going with it, and make everybody aware that after 3 o'clock, this room is empty, except for selectmen. So, and I'm just...
The total contract cost, is that for 1 year or for the 3 years?
The total contract
Okay.
cost is $101,213, and that, if you, July 2000 and December 2014, it's $26,041.
Okay.
The first year, we made some adjustments to their wages, and there's to a few, not everyone, to their wages. The second year, what they wanted to do is the higher portion get a less amount, the lower, younger
Build it
in
up.
seniority get a closer gap to the percentages. And so the first full year in 2015, the cost to the town would be $47,510. The 16 is $18,713, and then January to June is $8,950. And what that means in numbers is, with the 6 adjustments that we made initially, overall, from December 31st, 2013, the wage difference to 2017 is a 7.56% over the 3 years. If you take out the 6 that you did the wage adjustment, it's a 4.27 overall over everybody over the 3 years. The other major change, money-wise, is that the contributions to health insurance will stay the same in 2014 at 14.5% contributions. On effective January 1, which is not the contract year, January 1, 2015, they will be required to pay 15.75% until July 1 of 2016, and that will be 16.5%. So in a nutshell, that's what it is.
Is there deductibles or anything, like the basics for the insurance, the out-of-pocket, do those things change over those years at all?
Co-pays.
The co-pays, it depends on what we offer for the insurance.
So it would be...
So our insurance went up 7.8%. We eliminated the Blue Choice 310. There's one person that's actually grandfathered. And we went to a different plan that has a higher deductible, but it's less expensive to the employees, so we changed that. Joyce does that to all the employees, not just contractual.
Okay, so that's across the board?
That's across the board.
All town employees, police department,
Right, with the insurance.
Now, there are no other corollary expenses like increase in uniform allowances, sick time, or anything that affects the warrant article. It may affect the operating budget, but there's nothing in the CBA that would affect those corollary or supplemental expenses?
There is one, the prosecutor, there's a clothing allowance of $100. There's a difference, that would make a difference. Instead of $200 a year, it's $300. That went up $100.
But you plan to absorb that in the operating budget?
That would be part of the warrant. That's in...
Part of the warrant article? Okay.
The other change in the, like you mentioned, uniforms, they usually contractually have had 3 uniform pants, 3 uniform shirts, long sleeve, 3 short sleeve, and they opted to have 2 pants, 2 long sleeve and 2 short sleeve, and the difference, our cost to get those would be $290, almost $290, and the difference was we would in turn give them a 200 credit to get miscellaneous items that they needed throughout the year for their everyday work. And it's all spelled out on the procedure and how they can get it and so on and so forth. If it's not used, they lose it. It's so it's not a cost item to us because it's different.
Okay.
We paid $290, $300 in between there, and it's $200 here. So it's...
Because as we do it, the same goes with any sick time or personal time that they normally accrue during the year. Is that changed in regards to any cost?
The way the buyout has changed, there's a change in the buyout. The procedural part of... Right. We made it so that the higher amount of years that you have, the less percentage you can buy out.
Okay.
And that's, we have not voted on it as a board, but we're prepared to bring it to the board for across the municipality. So in percentages, it would be 40% as it is now in the municipal, and then as you get like 15 years, it's 30%. It goes 40, 35, 30, 25. So it's lower amounts. The amount that you can carry over, we allowed them 10 more hours to carry over than what normally we could carry over. So those monies are not, it's insignificant there, because now the less they can buy out.
The more that people can buy out, the more it costs taxpayers,
Right.
because we're paying them for working and, well, vacation at the same time, so
Right.
that can really...
So now, the less time that they have on the job, they can buy out, but
But they have
you
less
really,
time to
they have
buy.
less time to buy out
Right.
because they don't have it.
The idea is trying to keep people,
Right.
so they take their vacation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was our goal. That was our goal, so that the people would take vacation rather than use it as a bank
And get burnt out.
and get burnt out.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much in a nutshell. This will be presented in a warrant worded such as it was 3 years ago for town's approval.
So thank you.
Yeah, any information you have on warrant articles, you can send them out to us as they come in, or decisions, and then people can... Then, one other thing, I received a letter from, I think I mentioned at the other meeting, I received something from Genesis. She mailed a letter again. And she hasn't heard anybody following up on whether or not Genesis Behavioral Health was included in this year's meeting. Thinking possibly we can draft a letter and say that the
Times are
budget...
tough, we can't
The budget
keep...
voted, budget committee voted on it and did not include them in this year's budget. And the public hearing is on, it's in out this week. It's next Wednesday, if they wish to come, and give her the date of the town meeting, too. Go ahead.
Last week you asked if I would get back to the department heads to see, particularly welfare, Genesis would look into it, to see if they could cut, she could cut in any way. She will definitely take a look at it. It's not promising. In the last 4 weeks, we have been inundated with cases that have come in that are questionable, but it's sort of like an unfunded mandate that we're dealing with right now. And there's been an influx, a huge percentage of influx in the last 4 or 6 weeks of people coming. Fuel assistance, the state fuel assistance, as soon as people got their first delivery from CAP, they ran out of money. So it's coming into, this is what she's explained to me, it's coming now into the town, that people are coming in and looking for help.
With the cold weather,
Right.
people used up more heat, so they have less money for rent.
Exactly. And that's what's happening, but she did say that she would take a look at it this week. I also spoke with Dennis, and I also spoke with the chief.
Yep. Pat, it might be helpful that if Heather could provide us with a percentage of increase, not actual cases, but the percentage of increase she's seen over the last 3 to 4 weeks, and the amount, the grand amount that has been spent at this point in time, if there's a total, so we can make that comparison. Thank you.
That'd be the amount for this year, for
Right.
2014 budget.
And how much she spent at this point in time. And if you could do it like prior to the flux and then the flux, so we can get that interval of the cost.
Okay.
Well, we always thought that Lockmere Meadow would come into play sooner or later.
Building houses does not save money. Yeah, you get more taxes, but the services cost more than
I
you receive
remember
in
every year
taxes.
Scott asking that question to Heather, how does that come into play? We're now seeing it.
You know, same with school districts and things like that. You put a house in, and you automatically lose money.
Last time, they were talking about splitting it into 3 different.
I would make a motion to adjourn, sir, if there's no other business pending before the Budget Committee.
I would second that.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None.
What, 3 separate businesses? So Jackson's isn't gonna go in, or Star Market or whatever?
Not so far, but they haven't done the other yet either. I think they're looking and trying.